Hello and welcome back. I'm Shayna Cersei. I'm so excited to paint with you again today for another day of our everyday watercolor journal ideas. I am going to be continuing on with I'm going to do another reflection painting with some trees and some mountains. We did this reflection painting last time, a very loose one. We've been doing all kinds of things. Let's just look at all of the different things we have done in our watercolor sketchbook. So you can see I like to jump around a lot to a lot of different subject matters, and that's okay, especially my journal. I love to play and experiment with different styles, illustration, loose watercolor, more realism, whatever it is. I love to play. So we're going to keep doing that. We're going to do another reflection today. So I am once again going to tape down just the sides. I'm going to give myself a little border here, because I just love that look when you can pull off the tape. Like sometimes it's great to have nice, loose, kind of frilly edges where you don't go all the way to the edge of your paper. But whenever you can get a clean line in there and you get to pull that off at the end, I feel like it just really completes and frames a piece and can make you feel even better about what you have done. And that way I can also put my binder clip on the tape and not have to worry about painting around it. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to use 3 different brushes today. I am going to use my size 10 Velvet Touch. This is also a Princeton Velvet Touch, but this is a size 12 long. So look at how long those bristles are, and they come to this beautiful fine point. I'm going to use that because I want to experiment with the tip of this fine point. And then I also have my size 1 brush here as well for any more fine details, but I think I'm going to be able to get most of it with the tip of this brush. All right, so we are going to do another reflection scene, and this time I'm going to do it in portrait landscape or portrait orientation. And I think what I'm going to do is just put a little island here, okay, in the middle. That's going to be a cluster of pine trees. Now, you don't have to draw this out. I am just kind of mapping out what I'm going to do for you. But you can do anything you want or just start painting. You don't have to draw this first. So I just drew some lines here to represent kind of where the trees are going to go. And then behind it, though, I think I'm going to do some mountains. So the trees are going to be in front of the mountains, but like this mountain valley that comes down. And then this little cluster of pines is on this little island in the water. So mountains, sky, water, and this will be like the reflection down here as well. So same thing, as above, so below. There we go. So that just kind of gives me a mapping out. My mountains aren't going to be exactly like this. This is actually kind of a little bit of a weird stacking here. Let's get rid of that and put like one more over this way, and then maybe one larger one behind it. So yeah, that's fine. Okay, where to start? So a journal can be a great place to kind of map out a plan for a larger piece. So let's say you wanted to do something like this as a larger piece that was more detailed. You can start with a journal version of it just to kind of map out and make a plan for how you're going to apply your layers, especially when it's more complicated like this, where you have things layering over other things, figuring out what's going to be dark, what's going to be light, what do you have to avoid, what do you need to mask out. We're still going to try to keep it pretty simple today, so I don't want that to worry you, but we're going to start with the sky, and I'm going to make a bright yellow gradient wash from here up as if the sun is rising. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is clean out my yellow because I got lots of funky green and stuff in there. So I need to clean out this yellow. And I know this drives some people crazy. They can't stand when their yellows get muddy, and they would never let it happen in the first place. I am terrible at keeping my yellows clean. I dip all kinds of colors in them all the time. All right, so I have a bright cadmium yellow and I have a warm gamboge yellow. I'm going to use them both. All right, and I'm going to start by painting, and I am going to kind of not paint the mountains. I'm going to paint around them. Sometimes when you're painting a light color like yellow, you can just go right over whatever because you know it's going to be darker. I know they're going to be darker, but actually, you know what? I am going to paint over the mountains because I'm going to leave these yellows as highlights. So at least these ones, the higher up mountains. The ones down front, we don't have to bring the yellow that far down. But lots of yellow down here. Actually, I'm going to pull some out. And then I'm going to wash. So just take my brush and water and kind of wash this all the way to the front. If you need to tilt your page, you can do that as well. So the color is more intense towards the bottom than it will be at the top. There we go. All right, we're going to let that dry. And we're going to move down to the bottom. So I'm going to paint in my little island here. I'm going to take some sap green, some phthalo blue, and some Payne's gray. So I'm going to make this bluer, kind of duller green-gray color. I do want it to be dark because the sun is behind it, so it is kind of casting it in a bit of a silhouette. And I'm also going to pull in some purple here. So I already had some purple. And I'm going to paint in this front mountain here in this purpley, somewhat purple, muted purple color. So it's kind of a grayish purple. I just took Daxazine purple, and you can add a little bit of Payne's gray to it, or a little bit of yellow as well. Adding it to purple kind of grays and neutralizes it out. As we get closer to the center, a lot of this is going to be covered up by our trees anyway, so you don't have to worry about it too much, but I'm trying to make it a little lighter towards the center than on the sides. Drop in some darker color along the edge. And then this is still damp up here, so I gotta wait a little bit, but I want to leave some of this yellow kind of shining through because it's on the edge, and there'll be, let's see, yeah, I can paint on it now. There we go. All right, and I'll get in there with more layers in a little bit. All right, let's let those dry. Blend this out just a little bit here. But then we're going to let these layers dry. I know I keep saying that, but I promise it will happen. And then we have to give some attention to our water down here. So I'm going to put in, let's see, I need some space up here. I'm going to need this green again. So let me clean out this little well here. Now I want some of this yellow to reflect in the water. So I am going to, but then as we kind of come away from it, it's going to get darker. So I'm going to put some yellow in there and then fade to, maybe we'll use that same, let's start with our yellow. And don't worry, we're going to put in our reflections over top of this. This is a really strong kind of color. I have like a little bit of eraser or something on there, sorry. All right, while that is still wet, now I still haven't even painted in my trees, but I'm actually going to paint in their reflections. While they're still wet, I'm going to take some of this green, and this is where my trees are going to be, here and here. I'm trying to leave a little bit of a white line between the bottom of the tree and the island. So just painting in kind of these tall, weird sticks. You can paint, you can tilt your paper as well. But letting them be kind of a weirdish shape, letting them have little starbursts in them, that's okay. Just let it do its thing. All right, let that finish drying, and then we're going to move to the trees at the top. All right, things are drier, they're softened. We're still going to give this some treatment, so don't poo-poo it yet. All right, so let's do some trees. I'm going to use my long brush for this. I'm going to get some of this dark sap green. I'm going to get some really dark saturated colors. So sap green, a little phthalo blue, a little Payne's gray. Get a little more. All right, that feels good. Now, this beautiful long brush with that beautiful point, I am going to start adding in my trees. So these are pine trees. They're going to have their branches on these, they're going to be tall and they're going to kind of be sticking up a little bit. And I am going to leave some space so that you can see, especially towards the top, so you can see some of that yellow kind of coming through. And as we get down further towards the bottom, they're going to get thicker and wider. Not too wide. Again, these are really tall. These aren't like little fat Christmas trees. And then I have other trees next to it. So the bottom part where the trees kind of come together. So the tops, we're going to have lots of, space and little spots where you can kind of see through. But as they overlap in the cluster here, they're going to get thicker. We're not going to be able to see as much through the branches. Sorry, I just shook the camera. My brain doesn't want to make words come out of my mouth. All right, here we go. We're going to do another one over here. You can see I'm just kind of dabbing my brush back and forth, getting a little thicker in the middle, leaving some little spiky edges out towards the sides. You can always add other layers. If like you do it too sparse the first time, you can always add more, but you can't go from too much to too little. So it's always better to go a little lighter on these. So I'm just dropping in some darker color kind of towards the center where the trunk would be. Towards the bottom here. Giving a little bit more color to the island there. There we go. All right. Now the reflection is a great kind of mirror representation, or you want to make sure it is what's going on, especially if you painted your reflection first. So I'm going to add a little bit more over here because we have a little bit heavier stuff going on over here. And you can definitely do the trees first and then do the reflection. My bottom just happened to be ready and like wet and ready for me to go. So I wanted to jump right in. But you can wait for it to dry, re-wet it, and do the reflection later. I'm going to do another one right in here because this part got a little... Perfect. Okay. Now, what else can we add here? That's looking fun and festive. I'm going to do some surface treatment on my water. And I think I want to do a little bit more layering on the mountains back here. So I did them in purple. I'm going to add a little blue. I think I'm going to pick up some ultramarine. And I'm just adding it to the purple, making a very bluish purple, purplish blue. And I'm just going to add some more texture. I've already painted my trees over the top, so I got to be careful. I can't get too close there. And I could have done this before I added the trees, just added another layer onto them. But this is working for me. I still want to leave that section in the middle lighter where the sun is reflecting off of it or shining down on it. And these don't have to be super like defined either. We don't need to see every little edge. Put a little more color here, right up to the edge of this little green tree. Perfect. Okay. And now these mountains, whoops, I just dropped a little water on there. these mountains are going to reflect in the water as well. So I do have to put in a bit of a reflection down here. I'm still going to leave in this light water line. A little bit of yellow there, but we're going to come right up to the edge here. Same thing on this side. And now I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to move it back and forth. You see how I'm creating surface here? It's got very little paint on it. I'm just dragging kind of some paint from what is already there across the surface this way. I'm actually going to re-wet this whole area, just picking up a little water. Boop, boop, boop. And rethinking this, I would actually made the reflection of the mountain shorter. I would have stopped it like right here. And that's because they're further back, so you're not going to see as much of them. So I probably would have had their reflection go to like here, where this darker area is. But it is what it is. I've already done it. So I'm just going to play into it. All right, so we're going to do another layer of reflection. It's already wet surface. I'm going to tilt my page a little bit while I do it. It's a little too high up there. Bring that down a little bit. And then with my tiny little number 1, I'm going to take some Payne's Gray. And again, I'm going back and forth. This surface is still damp. So a combo of Payne's Gray and this darker purple. And you can also lift out some color in some spaces to create more of a highlight. And I'm wiping my brush off in between each one, or you will get like lots of color transfer. And that's not always what you want. Just defining the top up here just a little bit. So giving this a little bit more definition. And then I think we're good. That's fun. That is fun. All right, I'm gonna put in some birds, I think. Should we do a few little birds in the sky? 1. Kind of circling around. Do one over here. Just these little V shapes. There we go. This one's a little dark. All right, let's take off, or let's let it dry completely and then take off our tape. I'll use my heat gun to warm that all up and we will see what we get in the end. All right, we're back. Let's peel off our tape. I love the colors of this, the brightness of the yellow, the green, and the purple. This one was fun. It was a great little experiment in reflection, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. So we did this one, which was a much hazier, foggier day, and this one more bright, more clear. But I really loved painting both of these. So thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to check out the description of this video for links to supplies and materials, as well as my Studio Crew classroom and my social media. And like, subscribe, and follow. Don't forget to share this with someone who might also like to join my watercolor journey. So thank you so much. Happy painting, y'all.